Welcome to another episode of Response Agility. In today's world, we all need an opportunity to recalibrate, reconnect to our highest self, and choose our next steps in alignment. And that's what this podcast is about. And today I have an incredible guest, Bridget, with me. And I want to tell you before I fully introduce her, how I met her. I was part of this very large organization for speakers, and I heard about her. And so someone said, you should watch her TED Talk. And so I watched her TED Talk. And as I'm watching the TED Talk, I'm like, this lady's the real deal. Like, this is not just some motivational speaker. She's gone out and made a massive difference and been knocked around doing it. And that's why I want her to share with us today her story of resilience and recalibration, and just a little bit about who she is. So please tell us what's your full name, where in the world you live. And if you're going to say where you live, you have to then answer the next question that you know they're going to think about based on where you live. And then we'll get into your story of how you got to be you.
Okay, great. My name is Bridget Hilton. I live in Venice, California. I'm not sure the question that you're going to ask me.
Well, because you did live in the hills of Malibu when I met you.
Yes, very unfortunately, we had actually 3 fires in a row. One was in November of last year, then December, and then the last one was in January of this year. So yeah, I no longer live there because the entire town burned down, basically. But now I'm down in Venice and still by the beach. So, we're just rolling with it. We're doing what we can. It's definitely still a disaster zone up there. So yeah, let's hope that it gets better up there soon.
Yeah. So before we go into what you do and your story, what I want our friends and visitors and guests and listeners and watchers to hear and to experience is, I met her right before the fire, and she was working on an important keynote for me, Response Agility, during the fire. And who she was being when we were talking to her, like, it was clear something bad had happened, but she just kept bringing herself back to composure. And you also finished your deadlines. Like, you were super responsible with, hey, I don't know where I'm going to be living in the next 2 days, but I'll figure it out by Friday. I mean, I really want to acknowledge you for what that must have took, because I know a lot of people, when shit happens, they go underground with themselves, with their family, with their job, and you didn't do that. So can you share with us a little bit about you, what you do for a living? I know you're a keynote speaker, but I know you're also other things. And you contribute in many ways. And then how you got to be where you are today in your career.
Sure. So yeah, like you said, I do a couple different things. I no longer just have one job, unfortunately, or fortunately. Right now, I am doing keynote speaking, and I have a book called Experiential Billionaire, and a lot of my speech is from that book and around the ideas from that book. They're also from my career as an entrepreneur. I have a company called Listen, that's a headphone and speaker company. And we use the proceeds from the headphones and speakers to give people hearing aids. And so we help people hear for the first time. And I've been doing that for about 13 years. So now I have those 3 things. And then sometimes I will moonlight as a designer, as you know.
We've got keynote speaking on Experiential Billionaire, book author, and product by Experiential Billionaire. What's the product again?
So we sell like the normal like merchandise and stuff like that, but really the product is the keynote speech. It's not called Experiential Billionaire, but it's like from the ideas around that, and it's about how to invest in your life experiences.
Got it. So there's a couple things as I'm being reminded of When I watched your TED Talk, I thought of the guy from the 4-Hour Workweek. Now, I know we know his name, but I forgot it in a second. What is it?
Tim Ferriss.
Tim
He
Ferriss.
actually originally inspired me to start my company. One of the reasons why I started my company was after I read that book. When I was 20 years ago.
So he's all about the 4-Hour Workweek. And at first I didn't want to read it because I'm like, there's no work ethic in working 4 hours. And, you know, the way I was raised is you got to put in 80 hours a week.
Or like 40 hours every 2 days.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because that's the programming that I was programmed with around work ethic. When I read Tim Ferriss's book, he talks about an intersection between your life experiences and how you earn a living. And so here I'm talking to Bridget on our first call, and I was like, oh, this sounds like somebody who's implemented that. And then the second thing is Ram Dass. What you're doing for listening, he did for sight. And the way and what they call it is karmic yoga.
I did not know that.
That's what Ram Dass and Mirabai Bush in their book, Compassionate Action. And if there's time, I'll look for it. But if you haven't read it, you're living it.
I haven't. I have his biography, and then I have a couple other things by him, but I have not read that.
Yeah, it's very powerful. So Mirabai Bush, because I know you also do work in corporate organizations, because I've read something that you did in the HR sphere. So Mirabai Bush gets back from India after spending time with Maharaji and Neem Karoli Baba, and she wants to like save the corporate world. She wants to save the corporate world. So she does all this work in organizational development. And so when I went to the Ram Dass retreat, people are like, oh, you got to go talk to her. She does what you do for a living. And I go talk to her and I go, I need advice. And you know what she says to me? Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time on organizations, because if you really want to help people be empowered, just talk to the people. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because the organization has a filter. So I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that? I mean, what you're doing is business to consumer. It's listening, hearing.
I think that, I mean, as far as like what she said about the organization, like yes and no. Obviously, it's nice to have the one-on-one with people, but also like, you know, we spend 90,000 hours of our life working, and that's only second to sleep. So, and then in my case, probably more working than sleep. But
90,000 hours in our lifetime?
Yeah. So you do that more than anything else other than sleeping in your whole life. Wow. So, and like take into consideration that you're not working when you're a kid. So you're basically doing that more than anything else. Right. So, yeah. You know, I don't know if I agree that like you can't change it from the organizational standpoint. If that's where people are spending most of their lives, then like you kind of have to go there first, because, you know, once you get home from work, you're busy. You know, you might have kids or a family, or, you know, you have to make dinner, you have to do the laundry, do the chores. So like everything is so busy that you might as well try to do the change like while people are at work and like through their organizations. And it's only going to make the organization better. It's only going to make the people and individual.
Yeah, I get that too. I get that too. But what she had to say is, if people don't come on their own, like to wanting, like people watch a TED Talk, right? They come on their own, they read a book, they come on their own. Here's what this lady, Mirabai Bush, did, which is very inspiring to me, and I think it'll be inspiring to you. Do you know Google?
Yes.
Do you know Monsanto?
Yes.
So they were in the Monsanto organization and they worked with the CEO. Everything changed. This was 45 years ago. When he quit, everything changed back.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they need them now.
Yeah, well, that's her point. So when that went belly up, when the Monsanto guy said, I've seen the light, I don't want to work for corporate anymore. I want to go make a difference on the planet in a different way. And that's what he did. Everything fell apart. So her next gig, get a load of this. You know Google. Do you know the search inside yourself program?
No.
At Google? So there's this entrepreneur at Google. You know how Google creates businesses inside businesses, like you, entrepreneur. He and a team of people, including Mirabai Bush,
Oh.
created Search Inside Yourself program. It was all about tuning in, your highest power, breathing, calming down your nervous system. It was about responsibility. And it was
Love
also
that.
about having a vision, like you have your vision. Anyway, they built it and it was so popular. This goes to your point of doing it where people work, creating transformation. Now, Google did not sponsor the program. Google did not tell people they had to do it. We have an offering. We have yoga. We have Search Inside Yourself. We have cooking, French or Italian. We have another language. And then we have the Search Inside Yourself program. It was so popular. The guy spun off, created a whole new company. And to this day, they have like 1,000-person waiting list.
Wow. So it's not just Google anymore. It's like anyone can do it.
It's not Google because they spun off as a separate company, like often happens in the world of experiential billionaires, right? So first of all, I don't know why your keynote is not that, because I would pay real money to go hear that. I would pay Tony Robbins money to hear that. But anyhow, tell me what it means. What is an experiential billionaire?
So it's that word started, or that phrase actually started as an inside joke between me and my business partner, Joe Huff, who's also a speaker and my co-author on the book. So when we were building Listen, we started in 2012, and we just, we both came from nothing, and like we never had a lot of money or a lot of assets or anything like that. So we were like building this company, and it was in the time that there was a lot of different headphone companies being built and being really successful. Like the most successful one was Beats. So they sold the company for $3 billion to Apple. Wow. And around that time, a lot of people were saying to us, like, oh my God, you guys must just be killing it. You must be like so rich. And we were like, not really, because we're giving all of our money to charity, right? But we're having all these incredible experiences. We're traveling around the world. The whole goal of the company is to help people, right? So we're traveling from country to country, like helping thousands and thousands of kids here for the first time.
What country did you guys make your first big impact in?
The first one was in Peru, and it was actually still our biggest mission we ever did. It was 10,000 people in Peru.
Wow. Yeah, so these people are deaf. They can't hear at all.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So 9 out of 10 people who can't hear can hear with a hearing aid. And then the 1 out of the 10 that's not included in that can hear with like usually something like another sort of device or surgery. But so we focus on like the 9 out of 10. And
so what inspired you to get into that? What inspired you?
So my background before being an entrepreneur was all in the music industry. And I started when I was really young. Like I started when I was like a little kid, like that's what I wanted to do. I was like, I know for sure at first I wanted to be a rock star. That didn't really work out. But I started doing all these like, crappy jobs, like picking up trash at music venues and getting coffee for people at radio stations, or like selling band merch, like out of the, van in like the freezing cold Michigan winter.
You were a merch girl.
Yeah. And I'm originally from Michigan, so it's a lot different there. It was like super cold all the time. But so I started doing all these like little jobs to just try to like find a way into the industry. And eventually I got like an internship at Universal Music Group when they used to have a Detroit office that no longer exists, obviously. Labels are pretty much just in New York and LA now. But so I kind of just, climbed the ranks a little bit in there, and I ended up working there for almost 10 years. And I had moved to LA when I was around 21. And I loved it, and I fell in love with California, and I fell in love with the music industry, and it was kind of almost everything I thought it would be. Got to work with a lot of my idols, got to work with like some of the biggest musicians in the world. And one day I was kind of like, at some point you don't really want to go out to concerts every night, as you get older.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long did you do it before you started saying, oh my God, I can't believe
I
how much
worked there for
longer I
about
could
10
do this?
years. Yeah, 10 years in, I was like, you know what? I don't really want to go see the Black Eyed Peas again.
Yeah.
But so I kind of was thinking maybe I should do something else. And I was like watching all these companies in LA, like Tom's, for example, who would like give people shoes. There was a company in New York called Warby Parker that would give people eyesight and give glasses. And there was nobody doing anything in music. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then, like, just out of chance, I saw a video of a woman hearing for the first time, and she was like the same age as me. And it got me thinking about how much my life had been affected by music and how I wouldn't even be, in California without it. And how music basically saved my life, it got me out of like
Mm.
a great situation. So I decided after I saw that video to try to start a company where I could maybe help like one person get hearing, and that was 13 years ago. And now we've given 60,000 people hearing
Wow.
around.
And the business still exists.
It still exists. Yes.
Awesome. How many people work with you?
We're really small at this point. We were bigger like right before COVID, and then COVID kind of like blew everything up for us
Mm.
because we had a lot of like orders cancel, and obviously the supply chain issues happened in
Right.
China, all that stuff. And then Apple came out with like the AirPods, which is extremely hard to compete with. But yeah, we're still going. We do a lot of corporate partnerships at this point. Like the last like we've done partnerships with like Delta Airlines, Google. We did the Paris Olympics headphones. So we've
Nice.
done like a lot of corporate, like big stuff, but at this point we're not focusing on like the individual sale as much as we used to be. So it's fun. But yeah, so I juggle that with the writing and the speaking
Nice.
and
Nice.
designing.
And what inspires you to speak?
I love the immediate. It's funny. It's actually very similar to hearing. So hearing is like an immediate. It's like 10 seconds, like someone is hearing for the first time, and I like the immediate gratification. Or speaking is exactly the same. Sometimes you don't know in the moment, of course, people can be like stone faced in your audience, and then you'll hear from them like 6 months later, and they'll be like, oh my God, it changed my life. And you're like, but you weren't even like smiling. But a lot of times the audience will come up to me afterward and like just, people will be crying and all the things. And I just love like that you can have an immediate impact on somebody. And, a lot of people will say like, I see talks all the time and I never like them because they're just all about business and they're not about life. And like my talk is really, it's about business, but it's like 90% about life. So that inspires me to just get out there and talk to people and like hopefully, they make one step towards their goals that they like, maybe something that they never thought that they could do. Like that's what inspires me.
So it sounds like you're a grower of people.
Yeah.
Whether it's listening or insight and whether the medium is a TED Talk or a keynote or a book, growing people. The other thing I feel like I'm getting ready to lead this behavioral interview training that I do twice a year. And the value that you're speaking about is service centralizer. Like you for however you choose to do it, there is some commitment to service. And then the other thing is I think you have coach. I think you're a natural coach because a coach actually feels joy when people around them rise.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is like my calling in life is to inspire people and like instill urgency into their dreams and goals and stop. Like a lot of my speech is about how someday is not a day on the calendar. Like every excuse that people have is someday I'll do this, when I have more time, when I have more money, when I have permission, when I have more knowledge. It's always like when I have, but it's like your life is happening right now. Like it's not you can't just cram it all in at the end and like
Yeah,
hope
it
for the
was it, it was interesting because I just got back. The reason I had to be 15 minutes late is I just got back from a talk. And
nice.
the talk that I gave was the response agility talk that you and I worked on together.
Mhm.
I didn't talk about HR.
Yeah.
I talked about living life above the line.
Mhm.
And they loved it. People were
Yeah, they
going up,
appreciate hearing other things.
people were going up to the conference chair saying, this was the best talk I ever heard
That's
because it
amazing.
addressed also what you're talking about. It addressed the person in the
Mhm.
chair or in the seat, or one lady was going through a lawsuit. There's a lot of lawsuits right now, people
Oh,
suing
yeah.
companies, and those poor HR people have to deal with all of it because
And all the layoffs and all
the
of the like
CEO's
HR
not
people
dealing
are
with that stuff. The CEO's not dealing with that stuff. So I can tell you, people need all the help that we can give. So tell us a little bit about experiential entrepreneur or experiential billionaire. There's something about that I am very intrigued with. So what does it mean?
It means that you are rich in life experiences. So we did a huge survey of 20,000 people around the world of every age, every
Mm.
type of person. And basically, we asked them a bunch of different questions, but one of them was like, what was the most valuable experience of your life? And like literally zero people had the answer of something that was material or financial or
Mm.
anything like that. It was
Yeah.
all like
Yeah.
stuff that was,
Yes.
it was like, oh, when I got married, when I had kids, when I, achieved my dream of
Mm.
X, or when I went on this trip with my family. And then, or it was, a lot of times it was something negative, which I think is really interesting. It was like, oh, when I got cancer, or when I,
Mhm. Mhm.
something really bad, like when they went through an addiction or something really bad, and
Mhm.
then they came out on the other side. And
Mhm.
so those were all the reasons that like they gave us like about what their valuable experiences were. And so the term experiential billionaire is really just about achieving a life where you feel rich in experiences and you're not so
Mm.
caught up in like the day to day, like,
Mm.
you know, obviously money's important, right? And everybody needs it. It's very important, but it is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you can be happy and fulfilled, and you're living the life that you want and not the life that somebody else might want for you, or what you're told like by society that you would want.
Yeah,
So
so
it's
this
really
is
all about achieving these experiences that you want in your life.
this is so good. So if you're a regular watcher and you know about response agility, what it is, you can't live above the line. You cannot live above the power and freedom line without these experiences that Bridget is talking about. And, for my career, I was a big earner in recruiting, big earner. But when it was time for me to really look at how I wanted to spend the rest of my life, I wanted to spend it doing something with more experiences. When you place people in jobs, you have a peak experience when they get the job, but you don't have a peak relationship that lasts.
Hmm.
It's very transactional, and I wanted to be on the journey with people.
Yeah.
And so that's really what you're talking. And so I changed careers at 48, completely, because I wanted the experience of what I do for a living to make my heart sing every minute of every day. I can tell you, I was one of those people with the experiences that when they say bad things happened and they
Yeah,
came
me
out the other
too. I've
side,
been through a lot of bad things.
that's why response agility, right? Take a licking and keep on ticking. But tell me what happens to the brain when you have one of those experiences that would be valuable enough to remember to tell someone in a survey. I know there's something that happens to the brain, and I know there's a reason your brain is velcroing it. What do you think happens?
Mhm.
Don't give me the scientific answer.
Not the scientific answer.
Or you could give me any answer you want.
Well, I will tell you one scientific thing is that when you're going through new experiences, time doesn't obviously technically slow down, but time in your brain slows down, right? So say like you're only doing new things for like a week. That week is going to seem like it's like months versus if you're at home sitting like watching Netflix and making dinner, like that sounds like a great night to me, but I'm not going to remember that, in like 20 years, but I'm going to remember like that week that I did all kinds of new exciting experiences.
So the novelty, you're talking about novelty.
So novelty is actually really interesting. And the other interesting thing is that there's a gene that, people are born with, but you can also like, kind of force. And it's like, if you have it, and it's about being open to new experiences. So the more open you are, it connects with how long people live. And I think that that's really interesting. So if you're completely closed off to having any new experiences, you probably won't live as long as someone who's open to new experiences.
So there's so much about this. So I don't know if you know, you might or might not know, but about 6 weeks ago, I was in a bad bike accident. I on your left or car up, moved over to the side, hit a divot, flew into a sign, flipped over, clipped in the bike, hit the ground hard, 15 feet in a divot or rivet or ravine, and boom, 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 boom. First thing I said when I got up, well, there's a lot of said it, and I'm not going to, but the first thing I said to another human when I got up is, am I alive?
Yeah.
And then the second thing I said is, oh no, I won't be able to go to Mont Blanc. Because 1 week after that, I was scheduled to go to Europe to do the Tour de Blanc.
Oh, wow.
And what's really important to this brain, and I didn't know it was a gene, but I'm so happy to hear it, because I plan new peak experiences every year. And
I love that.
Well, but people like my acupuncturist is like, you need to stop doing such risky things. Bike riding isn't risky. I fell bike riding. I wasn't doing papa wheelies. Bike riding, everybody bike rides. And hiking, and I also got a little bit of hypoglycemic on Mont Blanc because I was recovering. But the thing is, like, I feel like time does slow down, Bridget. Time was slow on those 12 days. The hikes seemed like they were forever.
Yeah, I mean, think about when you were a kid, like a summer vacation would feel like it was so long. Now, like, it's like that. It goes by so quickly, because you're experiencing these things for the first time. And that's why it seems like it's like longer.
And it's all the senses. It's all the senses, right? It's sight, sound, taste. Like, tell me about that. And I'm not trying to trip you up. It seems like you know a lot about a lot and you did something for the senses, but how do those different senses play in making that a lasting memory?
That's interesting. We haven't really gotten into that, but if I think about like my own life, like, of course, when you're young and I can smell something now, I'm 40 now, and I can smell something that like maybe I smelled when I was a kid, and it'll bring me back to that memory, right? Or I can hear a song. I mean, I think the craziest thing is like that I know all the lyrics from all the songs when I was a kid. Like, I barely remember what I did yesterday. You know what I mean? but I can remember everything.
Because you sang them.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think that the senses are really incredible like that, where you can instantly be brought back to a memory. And again, it goes back to like you're experiencing things for the first time, and like it really imprints on your brain.
I want to know how to have more peak experiences, because when I was in Mont Blanc, now I do something. For those of you that know me, I walked the Camino 2 years ago. Every year it's something to stretch me, whether it's a class or an experience. They're all experiences. And in Mont Blanc, every day we really worked really, really, really hard. We had to climb up between 3,500 and 5,000 and down, and our feet hurt. But the food always tasted so good on the side. I mean, in Mont Blanc, you are in the Alps, the Italian Alps, the French Alps, the Swiss Alps. You're up there in the Alps, like the hills are alive. And then you're eating this amazing food on this picnic And then you go back at night and you get wine from the region and food from the region. And it's this amalgamation of experience. I'll tell you what, Bridget, when I got on the airplane, I got an email from Mount Sobek almost immediately, and everything in me knew I'm doing another trip.
That sounds awesome. I want to go.
Yeah, that is novelty, and it's that gene that that cultivates. So how do people have more billionaire experiences in their life? How do they cultivate that? Because I'm sure that's what your talk is about, right? You can't just tell them about it. You got to tell them how to do it.
Most people don't know what they want immediately, which is the crazy thing. So one way to do that, one way to figure out what the experiences are that you want, is to put hardcore time limits on yourself. So imagine that your doctor just called you, right? And they were like, bad news, you only have a year left to live. So suddenly your time is like finite, right? Whereas like it always was finite, obviously, but you just don't know how long you have. But suddenly you only have a year. So what would you do in that year? Like, what relationships would you invest in? What experiences would you have? What goals would you go after? Would you learn things? What would you do? And, a lot of people will choose adventure, or they'll say something like, I'll move closer to nature, or I'll, go on a trip, or I'll learn how to do this, or I'll spend more time with my family. And it's like, all of those things you can actually do now. So you should do them now, because you actually don't know how much time you have.
Yeah.
So I would write down that list first, and then that your doctor just called back again, and he was like, well, actually, I read the chart wrong. You only have 1 day left to live. So besides firing your doctor, what would you do on your last day? And usually those answers are not adventure or anything like that. It's like, I would forgive myself for this, or I would, call my parents, or I would spend the day with my kids and dog or something like that. Clearly, that is the most important thing in your life. If you're going to choose to live your last day doing those things, then why aren't you doing those things more while you're still have time? So that's really like the experiences, like going from like all the way from adventure to just telling the people that are closest to you that you love them. And
That's awesome.
that'll like give you clarity on what is actually important. And the things that you say you should do now. Like, there's no reason to not do those things, right?
Yeah. It's about sense of urgency, and it's about understanding that that ticker keeps ticking.
Yep, exactly.
So what's the name of your keynote? Because I keep saying Experiential Billionaire, but that's not the name of the keynote. What's the name of the keynote? For people who want to find Bridget.
The keynote is called The Path to Possible, and it's about how to make all of those goals, all the experiences that you want possible.
Wow. That's awesome. Let's recap for everybody what we're walking away with. So we're walking away with the path to possible. What we're walking away with is, if you had 1 day left to live, how would you spend that time? If you had 1 year left to live, how would you spend that time? And are you doing those things now? Are you investing in the things you love and the life you want now? And then my favorite part was 20,000 people were surveyed about their most valuable experience in life. And the majority of them were relationships, right?
Yeah.
And memories.
Yeah, relationships, memories, and really following their dreams. So when they went after something that made them feel alive, not something that someone else wanted for them, right? Not what your parents wanted, or what your coworkers wanted, or boss, or whoever. It was like, I always wanted to do this, and I did it. Dreams are so important.
I see so many people, like, as you're talking, I'm like, everybody wants to hear what you have to say, because people are searching for meaning and purpose right now, and they're searching for a way to have it. So thank you so much for being on the show. How do people find you if they're interested in learning more or reading your book or hiring you for a keynote or being in partnership with you for earpods?
Let's do all of it, just so my website is bridgethilton.com. You can find all of those things on that site. I'm also on all of the normal channels like LinkedIn, Instagram. But yeah, my site is probably the best way to get a hold of me. My email is just bridget@bridgethilton.com. So give me a shout. I would love to meet you.
Thank you so much. And I do want to connect if you think about that thing for campuses. I also don't know if you ever do pro bono work, but I have like a girls' school. I am going to do a talk in San Diego, which is in your backyard, for a girls' Christian school but it's pro bono. So I don't know if you ever do that, but it's something to think about. They're 16, 17, and 18. They're our future. So I always say yes to stuff like that. I always say yes, especially if it's local, especially if it's local.
Yeah, I did a talk in San Diego not that long ago. That was for like 600 girls, and they were like 18, 19 years old.
Nice.
It's similar, but I don't think I've ever gone as young as 16. I'm curious on like how it would land, and I would love to see that. I'm sure it would be great. So.
Oh God, I think they're desperate for it. I have a granddaughter who's 15, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll say goodbye since we just brought up teens. I took her on her 14th birthday or 12th birthday, I guess, to Kauai. 12 was too young. She sat and doom scrolled in the room and compared herself to TikTok ladies who were, beautiful. And she's like 14, so she wouldn't leave the room. So last year, and then again last week, she said, "Why didn't you smack me upside the head? I ruined that trip." I said, "Dude, it's not my job to smack you upside the head. It's your job to look at what you missed out on."
Yeah. It's a common thing though for that age. So
I know, but that's why they need as much help as we can give them. Okay. Thank you, Bridget Hilton. And thank you for all you do for keen alignment and response agility. And gosh, we need to have you back. Well, I have one more thing. How did you manage to be inside of that fire and be so proactive about your mental and emotional health? Because not everybody
I can say that, I think that in the moment I was, and I think that I'm very good in the moment in chaos and but then after, like the last few months, I've felt it more than I did in January, February. I was just trying to survive. I was like in survival mode, but now everything is like calmed down, thankfully. Obviously I moved and all this, and I had to get a new car and all that stuff. So in the moment, I was just like survival. And then
so adrenaline got you through.
Yeah, adrenaline, truly. Wow. And just the fact that I was like, I just have to keep pushing and, hopefully things will get better. And the nightmares have stopped. And
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, honestly. But yeah, now I'm like, I'm still worried because it hasn't rained here in probably 7 or 8 months. So if you need some cool escape, I have an extra bedroom down here. Oh, nice.
Monterey Bay. All right. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you. Check out Bridget Hilton's TED Talk. You will fall in love with her. You'll read the book, and maybe, who knows, maybe we'll do some cool thing about Experiential Billionaire, because I think that's like the best thing since sliced bread. I really. All right, thank you. Bye.